we're going to talk today about 3 different types of forestry taxes. And it's just meant to kind of be an introduction, overview. There's some good information in it, but I just want to let you guys know I'm not an accountant. I'm a forester, and if you guys got real tax questions or tax issues, you should really talk to your accountant about it. This is all stuff I just learned over the past 10 years, and I want to share it with you guys. So we're going to talk about, first of all, we're going to talk about property tax, which is probably the biggest tax issue that Illinois landowners have. And then we're going to talk about how to establish a timber basis, how it affects timber tax, and how it affects your capital gains tax. So first of all, for property taxes in the state of Illinois, there's 3 different types of property taxes. You got residential, agriculture, and then there's a conservation tax rate, which we'll talk about briefly at the end. But the 2 main ones are the residential tax and the agricultural-based tax. And the difference in them is basically how they're calculated. The residential tax rate is a tax rate that's saved for stuff like houses, buildings and structures, or any kind of maintained space, like your yard, or parks or fields and stuff like that. They calculate this tax rate. It's the highest property tax rate there is in Illinois, and they calculate it based on 33 1/3% of the assessed value of the structure or property. And I got an example up here for a $100,000 property. You got to take that number, you divide it by equalized assessment value, and for this one it's 3. And we come up with $33,333. At an 8% tax rate, you basically got a $2,600 tax bill. And that can be a pretty typical tax rate for a house or some other building, or even for a 20 or 40 acre wooded property, if it's assessed at the residential rate. Then there's the agricultural base rate, and that's what farmland is taxed at. And how they tax farmland is really based on your soil productivity. It's based on how much revenue can you get from the amount of crops that your soils can grow. And that's how they base the tax. So it's based on an agricultural economic value. And basically the way they do that is they look at your soil type. They see how productive it is, how much crops it can grow every year. They take into account actual use, flooding, slope erosion, and then based on all that information is given a productivity index number. And then with that productivity index number is how they calculate your taxes. Now, for like a $100,000 farm, the tax rate, I don't have an equation for it. It's a little complicated. But basically, for that last example, we had a $100,000 property. The tax rate is $2,600. For a 40-acre farm, the tax rate would be like around $1 or $2 an acre. It's the cheapest tax rate you can get in Illinois. The one catch with property taxes in Illinois is that your woods can be taxed at the residential rate. And what they do when they tax your woods at the residential rate, they call it recreation land. It's not woods anymore, it's something you recreate on. And the taxes on wooded acres, and I see it happen all the time, they go from $200-400 a year to $3,000 or $4,000 a year. And the reason that they do this, I guess, is to raise revenue. So if there's multiple ways that your woods can be taxed at the residential rate. And the first way, the most common way, is when it changes hands. So whenever you sell to somebody, it transfers, it goes across the assessor's desk, and it gets reassessed at that time. At that time, that new owner is stuck at the residential rate tax rate for at least 1 year. You can also be taxed at the residential rate if you have more woods on your property than farmland. So if 51% of your property is forested and 49% is in agricultural production, your woods can be taxed at the residential rate. And the last way is for your wooded acres to be taxed that way is if it is not enrolled into the IFDA program. And we're going to talk about that program here in a minute. But the IFDA program is what you put your wooded acres in to either prevent that increased tax assessment or to get it lowered back down to where it should be.